Hey guys, it's Michael.
And it's Patrick, tuning in at Star Wars News and Views. We're trying a new format right now because, as you guys might know, Michael's out in BC. So we are going to be doing a podcast and try to keep up with it, just doing, a video between the two of us talking over some of the news. And that way we get to keep in touch too and, let you guys know how we're doing. uh, so I guess for today's episode, we're going to start off by talking about the announcement that there's going to be a new trilogy directed and written by Rian Johnson, which is, I think, pretty big news for everybody.
Well,
They haven't really announced what it is yet, but
no, but you know what? Also what that tells you right away is Last Jedi is going to be awesome. If they're like
Yeah.
before the movies come out, they're like, how about you do three more?
yeah, exactly right. They're like everyone was saying that they had a great time working with Ryan on the set of the film, and like Kathleen Kennedy had nothing but like amazing things to say, and she's kind of the head of everything, so if she's giving him that much praise, like she must really like what he's doing, right?
Yep.
And even the cast has been saying how much they've liked working with Ryan and how great it is. I mean, I know it's like kind of a film, so you expect them to say that kind of stuff anyways, but I don't know, like
It seems
they make
genuine, though.
points. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I think Mark Hamill said like, "Oh, he's one of the first people that I've seen that hasn't like gotten mad at anybody on set ever," which is like kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess that kind of leaves us with speculation about what these new trilogy is going to be about. Like they said, it's not going to be about the Skywalker family.
Well, they
So-
also said that it's going to take place like in sort of a distant corner that we haven't explored yet.
Yeah. I don't know. Did they mention what like time period it's supposed to
No.
take place in? No. Okay. So there's a chance it could be like an Old Republic thing, maybe.
That's what people want it to be. I don't think that's what it will be, though.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of a lot of fans from the video game and sort of like expanded universe were really into that, and it's a really cool story, I think. But I guess we're not really quite sure if they're gonna go that way, just because it might be kind of new for a lot of people, and like also they have to kind of go into the old expanded universe and take some stuff out, and it might end up leaving people with a bad taste in their mouth who expected one thing and got another.
Yeah, well, I think if you're going to be exploring new characters in a distant part of the galaxy that we've never explored before, I don't think that's material for like Knights of the Old Republic type of stories. I think that's more like if you want to do the Old Republic, you're going to want to do like an epic trilogy of like the Sith Wars with the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think Rian Johnson would even want to do that type of Lord of the Rings epic story type of thing. Like I feel like he's
Yeah.
more personal dramas and stuff like that. And I think that's why he wanted to have this like a blank slate where he can just make up whatever he wants from scratch.
Yeah. So I wonder, like, what he's gonna do with that then. If it's just gonna be a sort of a whole like idea of a side story that he has planned that just has like to do with the sort of Star Wars themes. I guess that's like because if it doesn't have any connection specifically to the characters, right? What else others are gonna be connection to? I guess just it has to be like the Force, right? What
Well,
else would there be?
I think that this is really stemming from him making The Last Jedi and sort of like as he was sort of exploring that world and coming up with ideas and exploring the backstory and what else is going on in the universe at that time, it sort of set his imagination on like a tangent.
Yeah.
And I think it's that's the seed that sort of now has grown into this trilogy. When they
Right.
said, "Hey, do you want to do some more Star Wars movies not related to this trilogy?" He might have been like, "Oh yeah, I was kind of thinking about something." And maybe
Yeah.
like maybe it is something about the Old Republic days because Luke is researching the origin of the Jedi and stuff like that. So
It's actually it's pretty shocking because I don't think anybody since George Lucas has had anywhere near this much creative control over Star Wars.
Lawrence Kasdan and now Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams, I think they're all on par with George Lucas at this point. I would say.
Yeah, I guess because J.J. Abrams is doing Episode 9, so he ends up doing at least 2 of the movies. But that means Rian Johnson had his hand in the Skywalker story and gets his own trilogy as well. That'll be like 4 movies he's helmed, right?
Yeah.
That's quite a
I
bit.
still think Lawrence Kasdan probably would be number one because he wrote Empire Strikes Back, he wrote
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi, he wrote The Force Awakens, and he wrote the Han Solo spinoff.
Yeah, that's true.
And his ideas from Force Awakens are continuing to have repercussions down in Episode 8 and 9.
Yeah, even if he didn't necessarily write them, a lot of the stuff that he wrote is going to have to be like worked into the
Yeah.
future of that sort of. Yeah, I guess that's true. But yeah, so that's really cool. I've always said before that I'm kind of a Rian Johnson fan, or as much as I've seen like the movies that he's made before this, and I've liked them. And like I said, I know he's a Cowboy Bebop fan, so that kind of gives me a bit of faith in him. Leaving this new trilogy in good hands. I don't even know really what's gonna happen because they haven't really announced what the timeline is of this movie, of this new trilogy, have they? Like when they plan to release the first one. Have they announced any of that yet?
Yeah, that's something I've been wondering too. Are they gonna Episode 9 and then another spin-off and then the trilogy? Because the Obi-Wan film, they still haven't technically announced, even though there's a director attached to it. It hasn't been given a release date or anything yet.
Yeah, so I would imagine, I guess that's true, because they've got Han Solo next, and then Episode 9 is obviously going to come out within the 2 years after that, because that's a pretty strict timeline. So they've got a little while still before they have to start working on the third anthology film, if they're still going to make the Obi-Wan one. So I guess, if that's the case, they'll probably maybe even try to stick to this once-a-year sort of routine, and then maybe
that's what they said.
But
there'll be a new film every year indefinitely, basically until the money well runs dry.
Which is going to be never.
Yeah, or at least it'll, you know what, as older fans get jaded and fed up with all the Star Wars crap being shoved down our throats, there's an equal number of new fans coming in that have never experienced that yet.
Yeah.
We'll be like, this is great every year.
Yeah.
So it might be self-sustaining. Okay, so next topic. This was actually announced at the same time as the new trilogy, the new Rian Johnson trilogy, was announced. That kind of just flew by everyone's radar. No one's really talking about it too much. Just because it's been overshadowed, but it was also mentioned that Lucasfilm is working on a live-action TV series. And that's basically it. That's all they said. They just kind of putting it out there. And
we had heard rumors about this before and kind of had talked about like the possibility of them doing another live-action series, actually even years ago, and I think they've kind of been talking about it for a while and not really got around to it. But now it kind of seems like, because they've said in the shareholder meeting that they're going to do it, that it's like underway finally, right?
Yeah. Well, I have very specific theory behind this. So when George Lucas was still in control of the company, he wanted to do a live-action TV series. And it was going to be called Star Wars Underworld or Underground.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And they did concept art and stuff like that. Or no, sorry, that was for the video game. Never mind, that wasn't for the TV show. But he met with, supposedly anyway, he met with a bunch of writers, and they screen wrote all 50 episodes of this show. Mm-hmm. And then in 2012, it got sold to Disney, and that kind of got shelved. It was supposed to be a television show for ABC.
Yeah.
But the thing holding it back was that the scope of it was so big that it would have been so expensive to make, because George Lucas wanted it to have the production quality of a feature film, but in a television show. And it kind of got pushed aside, but now Disney now is trying to create this new streaming service, and that's one of the reasons why they were in talks to purchase 20th Century Fox a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Because that would give them, they want to have a streaming service for all the Marvel movies, all the Disney movies, all the Star Wars movies, and if they could buy 20th Century Fox, then they'd have, Alien, Die Hard, The Simpsons,
Yeah, I think they're kind of waiting here because like they know to throw their hat in the game without any like huge like library to go into, they're just gonna lose to Netflix though, right? So they have to like really pile up the content that they have to be ready to go and just kind of do it all at once, right?
Yes.
And having like the Star Wars show, like you said, ready to go will be kind of like a huge seller,
Well, that's like when CBS launched their all-access streaming service. They put Star Trek Discovery exclusively on that service.
Yeah.
And that was like their flagship show. Come here, because you can only get the show on our streaming service, and you get all the other CBS shows and stuff. So Disney wants to compete with Netflix. They're doing stuff for Netflix now. But I think going forward in the future, they're going to put all their next Marvel products on their own streaming service. And wouldn't it be the most tantalizing from a business perspective if you can only watch the high-budget live-action Star Wars series on Disney streaming?
Yeah, plus they have a whole bunch of like cartoons that they make, and they have a whole Disney Channel as it is. But to
Yeah.
put that all like exclusively on the streaming service, you'll just like sell to adults and kids, like right? Like it'll be
Yeah.
so easy for them just to make that whole platform. Yeah, it was kind of funny about the talks with this Fox. From what I kind of understood, they kind of like it. The fact that it got spoiled that they were in talks, like these like rumors kind of went.
I
both
think
of,
the
like,
rumors actually might have torpedoed the talks a bit.
it did because I think it made Fox's stock jump because of this talk that they were going to get bought out, and then they became almost even too expensive for Disney to buy at that point, right? Like, their
Well,
stock
this is the
ended up
thing.
jumping.
Like, Disney doesn't actually have that much money. Like when they bought Lucasfilm for like 4.1 billion, they don't actually have that much money.
yeah,
So they're like, here's a part of it in cash, and then we'll give you the rest in the form of like stocks or whatever.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a huge, huge sale to buy a company like 20th Century Fox.
Right. So I guess to go back to the show, then, do you think they're going to use that George Lucas sort of treatment that he had already done for it? Are they going to like go back to that, or do you think they're just going to start doing their own like new thing for it?
Well, I have a feeling since they have 50 scripts already written, ready to go, it sounds like the show was a good idea, and it wasn't like George Lucas writing these scripts. They
He
brought
got
in
scripts.
teams of professional script writers, and they spent
Yeah,
months
yeah.
doing this. So, why not just either take those and make them, or rewrite them, like adapt them? Why not?
Yeah, I guess if it's already there, right? Like it's just like
As
you
long
kinda
as the
dumb to throw
quality's
it
there,
away.
like I can see if they're like, I don't know, these are not kind of along the vibe that we want. Okay,
Yeah.
but you already have you have an entire television show written
Mm-hmm.
that Lucasfilm had already sunk millions of dollars into developing.
Yeah.
So you could go into production of it by the end of next year and have it ready to stream in September of 2019.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting, all this stuff that we're hearing coming out. But every time we hear these like new things, it's always like, oh yeah, in the future. So we got like another couple years probably to wait for that, and then like another like 4 years to wait for the Rian Johnson thing. But
I know. You know what? We've been reporting on all this stuff for so many years now, and we only really have two things to show for it: Rogue One and Force Awakens. After all this time, that's it. Two things.
Yeah. We'll have 3 in a month, but still, yeah, I know.
When they're talking about, we're going to do Han Solo, we're going to do Boba Fett movie, television series, episode 9, Rian Johnson's doing the trilogy. We've only seen two things.
Yeah, I know.
And we've been doing this show for 4 years.
Yeah. They must really be like. I mean, I know Star Wars is gonna sell well, but they must be really banking on all this stuff, right? Like,
Well, it's the
must be
same
so
with
much money.
Marvel. Like, you see the lineup of Marvel movies, and it's like going into like 2025.
Yeah.
It's like how long have people been talking about Civil War, or not Civil War?
Infinity War.
Infinity War. All
Yeah,
those
right.
Thanos teases since like 2010, basically.
Right. Yeah. So it's been like almost 7 years coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty exciting, though. I'm pretty excited to see that.
I don't know what Marvel's gonna do once they get past this next block of movies. Like, are they gonna retire Captain America and Tony Stark?
So I think like the idea right now is that we don't really know, and I think that even if they do know, they don't want to say it yet because they want to like let like Infinity War kind of happen. Like,
Yeah, I
'cause,
know,
you
but everyone's
if-
kind of wondering that though. Like, I think they're gonna
Right.
do a female Thor when Chris Hemsworth leaves.
Yeah, bring in maybe not use the one from the comics where it's Jane Foster, but something similar to that, right? Yeah, I mean they like there's a new one recently called Ironheart, and like they can always replace that character with somebody else because like you said, it is just a suit. Same thing with Captain America.
You
Really.
could
They
have
replaced
Bucky
him in the
take over
comics, too.
Captain America, right?
Yeah, he did for a bit, and they also had a Falcon take over for him too.
Hmm.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah. So
Back to Star Wars.
yeah, and I guess so. What was the last thing again?
The last.
The last thing we were going to talk about? We said
Oh, the
TV
Han
show.
Solo spinoff.
Oh, right, okay.
So this is another topic that has not had nearly as much attention given to it as there should be, and that is the extent
Yeah.
with which the Han Solo spinoff called Solo. Stupidest title.
He's by himself. He's
What
solo.
do you make it? What's the new Star Wars movie? It's a movie about Han Solo. What's it called? It's called Solo. No, anyway, though, so Ron Howard took over at the end of June, I think around June 26th was his first day or something like that. And he was only supposed to do like 3 or 4 weeks, like just kind of finish up filming. They were so close to being done, which is why it was so weird that they were replacing Lord Miller that far in the game.
Yeah.
So all right, so he takes over at the end of June. By the end of July, they'll be done. They'll go back to regularly scheduled programming and try to sort out this mess.
Yeah.
And then July went by, he's still making it. August went by, he's still filming. September goes by, he's still filming. The wrap party was October 10th, and they still had shots that they needed to do with the main unit. So that's June to July to August to September to the beginning of October. So 3.5 months. Who is it? That's Star Wars Newsnet is claiming to have an inside source that's claiming that Ron Howard shot approximately 80% or more of the movie, which makes sense if he was filming for that long.
Yeah.
And as a result, the budget has now basically doubled because they basically had to film the movie twice. So
yeah, because if you think about it, by that time they must have shot way more than 20% of the movie before he took over, right? So like that must mean that he just redid so much of it,
Well, in order to have a director's credit, you have to have shot more than 50% of the movie. That's why when Richard Donner got fired from Superman 2 and they hired Richard Lester, they already had filmed 70% of the movie. So Richard Lester, in order to get the credit, he had to go back and refilm pre-existing footage and add new bits and stuff like that just to extend the amount of footage that he could take credit for so that he could have his name on it.
Yeah. So,
but this could be, I don't think this is a case of like ego or whatever. I think this is like the producers are like they gave us the wrong tone. People were saying that there was rumors that it was like Ace Ventura in space type of thing.
Yeah, I heard it was like really silly, and they like wanted. That's one of the reasons why they ended up switching directors on it, was because it was like a little bit too like crazy or like too like funny. He was just kind of trying
too
to do
wacky.
much with it. Yeah. Which is like kind of a shame. I kind of want to see that. Like I think that sounds kind of funny, and I would really want to see that movie. But I mean, it might end up being better for it. And I guess again, they seem to. Disney seems to sort of know what they're doing with the Star Wars movies right now, and they did a good job with Rogue One, even doing all those reshoots and everything, right? Like that ended up being a great movie. So I assume they know what they're doing with Solo as well. Hopefully, this is going to turn out for the better. But at the same time, it would have been kind of cool to see the sort of more wacky one.
Yeah, well, that's interesting though. So that means that Lord Miller basically filmed close to 80% of the movie. I'm going to say 70 to 80% of it was done. So there's going to be an entirely different, not even the different edit, not a different cut, a different version. Like they refilmed almost the whole movie.
Yeah.
They filmed it twice with two different directors.
Well, so
that's crazy.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. The thing that I thought that the reason why I kind of want to see the more like humor version of it is that when I want to see like Han Solo in a prequel, I don't want to see him doing anything like crazy heroic and like saving the galaxy somehow, because he wasn't supposed to be anywhere near like that when you meet him.
He's just like, he's cynical, right? He's like
he's a cynical smuggler, and that's it, right? Like, but he's like he doesn't really feel like he had done anything like grandiose before he meets Luke, right? It just kind of seems like he did like smuggling stuff that was all just for personal gain for the most part,
Well, I do think they still will have a lighthearted tone. Like, how can you have a Han Solo movie that's not lighthearted? I think when Disney and Kathleen Kennedy was approaching Lord Miller and we want to make this lighthearted, maybe have it be a little bit comedic. In their mind, Disney was thinking lighthearted the way the first original Star Wars movie was. And in Lord and Miller's mind, they're like, we can go crazy and make it wacky and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what constitutes a lighthearted, slightly funny Star Wars movie for Kathleen Kennedy means something totally different for Lord and Miller.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely probably have a way different idea for how to make things funny, right?
Yeah, so I have faith that it will be the appropriate tone.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm kind of opposed to the idea of doing a young Han Solo movie in the first place. It wouldn't be my first, because I feel like it ruins the mystique one way or the other.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because when you see him, he was always kind of this mysterious character that had this not necessarily dark past, but sort of a mysterious past that he just kind of he doesn't really seem like he would tell you either way, kind of what would happen,
Yeah, I guess my concern is that it's going to be too much of an origin story where it's gonna show how he got the Falcon, it's gonna show how he met Chewbacca, it's gonna show how he first became a smuggler.
Yeah, and it's like some
You
of
know,
the
his
stuff you don't need
entire
to know.
identity is forged in the course of 2 hours.
Yeah, and it's like stuff that you don't really need to know how he got there, right? Like it might not need an explanation. Like the getting the Falcon might be, you know, a story to tell because it'll have Lando in it, which is kind of cool. But I feel like, yeah, like a lot of the stuff, they just want to check the boxes of like, oh, we want to explain how this happened to him and why he's like this and then this and this and this. And it's like, you know, they're going to explain how Anakin Skywalker built his blaster too or something like that, right? Like,
yeah, well, it's like, hey, did you know Anakin Skywalker built C-3PO?
yeah,
like,
right?
We don't need more of that.
Exactly.
But we'll see. I mean, I hope it's good. I'm kind of concerned about, from Disney's perspective, because they basically shot the movie twice, and it was being projected to have a budget approaching $200 million.
Mm-hmm.
Getting up there anyway. That's sort of like what Rogue One was.
Yeah.
And that's before reshoots. So basically,
Right.
if they made the movie twice, the budget should be over 300 and pushing 400. And so in order to turn a profit on that, you basically have to double your production box office.
Right.
So this movie has to make, like, it's going to lose money domestically, because even if it makes $700 million domestically, it still is not in profit at that point. It's breaking even.
Yeah, yeah.
But
like,
I mean, they'll make up for it in toy sales and stuff like that.
Right, they sell so much merchandise for these movies. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see how that turns out. I guess we're still a little while away from seeing anything else from the Han Solo movie. You know, probably won't see any like sort of teaser trailers until like mid, you know, like spring next year, even, right?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, but I have faith it'll be in good hands, and I think that it should still be, even though I'm not, yeah, like you, I'm not exactly as excited about this movie as I would be about other ones that they could make. I still think it'll be good though, because like, I had faith in Rogue One, and it actually turned out to exceed my expectations, I would say, for what that movie was. So, yeah.
All right, we're at 9:50 here, time-wise.
Yeah, you want to wrap it up? Okay, guys. So yeah, that was our sort of podcast or recording that we're gonna try to keep doing in this sort of style to keep in touch and kind of cover some of these sort of big ticket items on the Star Wars news front. And I think we had some pretty big ones today, especially that new trilogy. It's pretty exciting. So yeah. Let us know what you guys think. You know, let us know in the comments. We always like to read it.
We don't really have a set schedule for this, so I'm not sure how often, or like if we can give you a date that, okay, we're going to be uploading on this time or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're going to try to do it as often as we can, and this is the first time we've done this, so there's kind of a little bit of technical hiccups that we're kind of scrambling with at the last second. So
yeah,
hopefully this will improve over time.
Yeah,
and we'll definitely have this together.
Right, we'll definitely have one for like The Last Jedi when it comes out, where we'll have a really in-depth one by then. But maybe if there's any big news before that, we'll try to keep up and, you know, keep it going.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So that's been our podcast. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe. You know the whole deal. And we'll see you all next time.